Welcome back to Killer Fun, where we explore the intersection of crime and entertainment every other week. I'm Christy.
And I'm Jackie.
And we're so glad that you're back with us today. Today, we are talking The Watcher. A couple overextends themselves to buy a home in the burbs for safety and comfort, but they find themselves tortured emotionally and financially.
The Burbs.
The Burbs. Oh, do you remember that old movie?
Remember it?
I hardly remember it.
I love it.
Did you?
I'm obsessed with that movie. I have watched it multiple times throughout my life. I know scenes. I know it. That Tom Hanks film is a freaking classic. And okay,
I always get that one and The Money Pit confused.
yeah, both amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, but The Burbs, all right. So full confession, when we lived in a neighborhood in a gated community, well, we had a neighbor across the street who would tend to keep his garage door open a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So that they could vent out whatever they were welding or burning or exploding or whatever. And
smoking.
Yeah. And he was the nicest guy and he was super handy. But we called him the Burbs because we never knew what was going on over there.
It could be totally innocent, could be very, very sketchy.
I never saw a coffin fall out of the sky, so I think we're good.
There you go. Oh, this cast. Man, it's star-studded. I didn't realize that until I was like, holy moly.
Yeah, it's stacked. It's stacked.
We're just going to talk real quickly here about a few people. Naomi Watts is Nora Brannick. Long career dating back to 1986.
My gosh, right?
I mean, forever. And I'm like, she does not look old enough to have been a working actor since 1986.
No.
And she was in not one, but two versions of Mulholland Drive. Did you ever see
no
that
idea
movie?
what that is.
Okay, so it's this. There was a TV movie in 1999, and then in 2001, there was like a feature film.
Okay.
And it's super weird. Like, you don't understand it. Like, it's this like very cerebral, bizarre movie about Hollywood.
Okay.
Like, I had a friend tell me, please watch this movie so you can explain it to me. And I watched it and I'm like, I don't know what I just watched.
My goodness.
We were talking about it at work the following week. We rented this movie because she was like, you're smart. You can explain it to me. And she's like 5 or 6 years older than I am. So I don't know why she thought I would get it. But
you're young and hip.
I guess. I don't know. But then I watched it and I'm like, I don't know what that was. It didn't make any sense.
That's
but it was
so weird.
One of the most weird but still interesting movies.
Yeah.
It's one of those I don't know
Mesmerizing?
what happened, but it was super weird. But yes, and she was in not one but two versions of it.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Bobby Cannavale.
I think it's Cannavale.
Okay, I couldn't remember, and I should have looked it up.
Cannavale.
Yeah,
with the nobody can see me. Yes. But if you heard it in my voice, you know what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, with the little hand
with
thing.
The kiss thing.
Chef's kiss sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, Bobby is Dean Brannick. His career is also long, but 10 years shorter than Naomi Watts.
What?
Yes. And I forgot he was in Mr. Robot.
Oh, yeah.
He's so great. He's like always that guy from New York.
See, Cannavale.
Yeah. Then Jennifer Coolidge is real estate agent Karen Calhoun. And we're used to her in comedies like Legally Blonde and The Friends offshoot Joey. I totally forgot she was in that because you can't find that to stream anywhere.
I didn't know that.
I forgot until I read it in her IMDb. I was like, holy moly. But she brings some light to this show, but she's also got this dark, interesting side. And
yes.
She brought that here. She's brought that in HBO's White Lotus.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, where she's hiding ulterior motives. This light, funny, bubbly, sort of bimbo-y exterior.
Yeah.
Really.
But there's something deeper there.
Yes. It's so fun.
She's always fun.
And then Margaret Martindale is the crabby neighbor Maureen. And I loved her in Your Honor and Sneaky Pete.
Yes, and Sneaky Pete. She was so good.
She was in Dexter.
Yes.
And she's going to be in my most anticipated movie of 2023.
What?
Cocaine Bear.
Really?
All right. So, shall we recap this?
Yeah, let's recap.
right.
Go for it.
The Brannick family is looking for a less stressful, idyllic life for their family by moving from loud and busy and perceived to be unsafe New York City to the lovely commuter town of Westfield, New Jersey. The home they desire is large, lovely, and more than they can really afford. At the open house, they realize real estate agent Karen is a classmate of wife Nora's from the Rhode Island School of Design. And Karen tells Nora and husband Dean that they will have to make an over-asking offer on the house in order to be able to solidify their purchase. While the couple seems to be doing well, Nora is a working artist with her first solo gallery show, and Dean's about to make partner at his firm. They have a 10-year-old bankruptcy hanging over them, and Dean moves heaven and earth and makes them cash poor in the process of purchasing this home. But securing the financing isn't the hardest part of their new situation. The family of four finds the neighbors aren't very welcoming and are also a little too familiar at the same time.
In their bubble.
Yeah, they're like
in the personal bubble.
Like
with no
in
casseroles.
The house. And no casseroles and no kind words.
Although I have opinions about that. We'll get to that.
Yeah, okay. It's nice to get along with neighbors, but not really necessary, at least until a very troubling letter arrives in the mail and sets them on edge. The watcher is observing and biding their time.
That's great. Oh, I love it.
I don't know how this is doing so poorly.
Oh, well, my husband has opinions about that.
I thought it was super fun. The critics liked it more than audiences. Critics are at like 55%, so like barely more than half. And audiences are like 34%. I don't know, but at the same time, a lot of people watched the show.
Yeah.
Like,
right?
A lot. So it totaled, in the first 2 weeks after it was out, 273 million hours viewed.
Whoa.
A lot. It knocked Dahmer out of the top spot when it came out, which, by the way, Ryan Murphy also made this show.
Oh, okay.
And then screwed up Dahmer. So I don't quite know how he did that, how he got the asking these people for permission and getting it right.
Because it was a book.
Oh, that's why.
Because there was an intermediary there.
Oh, that's why.
The deal had already been done. And so all that he had to do was option the book, which then gave the author and the family more money.
Okay. Well, okay. So there you go. Have somebody write a book about your awful story that they have to option.
Yeah.
And that's how you get paid.
That's how you get it.
Ryan Murphy. So Digital Trends has some ideas about what went wrong.
Okay.
So he said there are too many subplots, which I'm like, I don't really agree with.
Me either.
So I don't really agree with that because I think you need the subplots because that's how this kind of investigation went around.
Yeah.
Like you have to suspect the neighbor and then the real estate agent and then the detective.
They weren't subplots. They were options. They were suspects.
Okay. So, but here's the point that Anthony Orlando made that I think is okay. I can maybe see that. The show sweeps many of its twists under the rug as quickly as they appear so we can continue exploring the mystery of the watcher, which makes them seem like they were only meant for mere shock value with little bearing on the overall story. Which is fair because there are some things that happen and like the actors or the characters make a big deal out of it and then like there's trouble in the marriage. And then all of a sudden the marriage isn't in trouble anymore. They just like they pass by it a little too quickly. So it's almost like maybe we could have left that bit out. That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I can see that it might be I don't know. I'm really trying to I'm trying to get there. You see that? Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like you can't keep up.
That's fair.
Well, because the whole, like, for instance, the whole marriage being in trouble wasn't like random.
Right.
It actually points you to a suspect right off if you recognize how that whole marriage is in trouble thing started.
Right.
And it wasn't because the wife was like, we're in trouble. It was because it was suggested to them from the outside, which comes around later.
Yes.
So it's not exactly something you can ignore.
Right.
The manipulation.
Right. I agree. And I think maybe there's a lot of, you have to pay attention and follow
You really
along.
do. This is not one that would be that enjoyable to just sort of have on in the background.
Well, and that's kind of how I had it, how I watched it the first time, and watching the first episode a second time, making notes and stuff. I was like,
yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of that, which is where my husband's critique came in,
right?
Because he watched it, and what he didn't like was that you saw things happen and then you heard them described.
And I didn't find that to be off-putting at all. I didn't think it was overdone.
Me either.
It wasn't too exculpatory.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. But he just couldn't. He didn't like that, and I was like, "Oh well."
That's
I didn't
a
think
preference
it was that bad. I think it was a preference, but maybe when a lot of people shared, I don't know.
Yeah, and the trouble with all Netflix shows is they all drop at once. But for the most part, there have been a few that haven't been that way. They're trying out something new where they'll drop 2 or 3 or 4 at a time.
Yeah.
And then you have to wait a week or two and then a couple more drop anyway, whatever. This all came out at once. And I think I had the benefit because before I watched this, you told me that it is, spoiler alert, unsolved.
Right. I did tell you that.
I knew going in that it was unsolved. And I think the groaner of an ending is...
Gotcha.
It gets people. People say they don't want a happy ending. They lie.
They absolutely
because
do.
they don't like things without happy endings.
Right.
And they like mysteries. They say they want mystery left open. No, they don't.
No,
they really don't.
Unless it's a clear cliffhanger for the sequel.
Right. Exactly.
Of which there is none for this. So,
and this guy suggested, they should have left off with not telling you who did it, but like a parting shot of who the most likely suspect would be.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. We don't know.
We really don't know.
We don't know. And this is based off of a true story. So how does it fit our new guidelines?
Yeah. How does it fit? We kind of already... alluded to that a bit.
We have. The tab talked about this, that the couple's name was changed. They're Derek and Maria Broaddus. And they said that they really wanted very little involvement in the show, but requested 2 things of the production. First of all, they got paid, though the $10 million payday that was floated is not how much they got.
Oh, wow.
They actually didn't, between what they paid for the house, the renovations they put into it, the difference between what they actually ended up getting for the house, which was about $1 million, I think, and the money they put into it was not as much as their deal from Netflix. Right. So they still lost money, but a little less.
Yeah.
So, but they asked that the show not use their name. And they wanted the couple, Nora and Dean Brannick, to look as little like them as possible.
There you see, smart ask.
Yes. And they do still live in the area. In the show at the end, spoiler alert again, they moved back to New York.
Yeah.
But they actually decided to move into a different, smaller home in the area. And it made sense for them.
Yeah.
So
it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
All right. So we're going to take a real quick break. And we'll be right back with Is It True? Psychology Break and Real Life after this.
So here's how it works. Christy wrecks her search history. Hey, an essay. We promise it's nothing more nefarious than a podcast. To find out what's true, some of the psychological motivations behind the characters' actions, and real-life applications that relate to our topic. I have no idea what Christy decided to look up. Could be the same thing that captured my curiosity or something I never thought of.
Is it true?
Is it true?
So we're going to do a few things. History versus Hollywood really helps us out with this.
Nice.
So the house really is located at the generic fake sounding address of 657 Boulevard.
Isn't that interesting?
It's so weird, but they changed the zip code for the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Town name? What about the town name?
No, the town name is Westfield.
Okay.
Yes. And the fictional home is much, much grander than their real life home.
We have a picture? Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay, this makes so much more sense because the real house looks like something that belongs in a neighborhood in New Jersey.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. It looks like a New England home, whereas the other one didn't. I mean, the miniseries one.
Yeah, the
didn't.
one in the miniseries is in upstate New York.
Now that makes more sense. Okay.
Yeah. So the show couple had 2 kids. And the Brannocks had 3 children who were quite a bit younger. Their oldest was about 10 years old when they first purchased the house. A lot of the language that you hear in the letters is pulled directly from actual letters that they received.
How creepy, right?
657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now. Why are you here? I will find out. All of these creepy things. I see already you have flooded 657 Boulevard with contractors so that you can destroy the house as it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I mean, all of these
creepy.
That you think are over dramatic things that they did for the show. No, those were in the real letters.
That is so creepy, right?
Be freaked out too.
And also, I would totally have changed those countertops also.
I mean,
yeah.
Yes, the white countertops are just asking to get stained.
What was it? It wasn't quartz, it was something else, and it was that's gonna stain immediately.
It was some kind of
porous kind of material. Right. And it's who does this? See, function, guys, function.
That's right.
Function is beautiful.
That's right. In 2014, the neighborhood was the 30th safest town in America.
Whoa.
It is, spoiler alert, for a little later in the episode, it's no longer on that list.
I can imagine.
But there was a murder in the Westfield town, though not in their house, where John List murdered his mother, wife, and 3 children in the home and then disappeared for a while. So later on, you meet somebody who is similar to that.
And that's a creepy story. That's just a creepy story, the John List story. Oh.
Yeah, it's super creepy. Derek was initially suspicious of a couple on the block because they asked to see what kind of renovations were being made, and him having not gotten the letter yet. He had gotten the letter. Yes, he did. He had gotten the letter.
And then people are asking to see the renovations.
And they asked to see the renovations. And so he's walking them around the house, showing them what he'd done. And the wife said, it'll be nice to have some young blood in the neighborhood. And young blood was a term used in the letters. And that caused him some...
So creepy.
And then there was a neighbor who had an adult son living with them who was described as a Boo Radley sort of character. And it was one of the only families in the neighborhood that had lived there since the 60s.
And can we just say, Mia Farrow freaking nailed that role?
Oh my God. And I was amazing as Pearl, yes.
Oh, it's Mia Farrow.
And then there were neighbors who would sit in lawn chairs near the edge of the property and watch the contractors, just like the creepy neighbors across the street did.
Mo and Mitch.
Oh
my God. That whole thing, I laughed consistently. They are so funny.
Richard Kind is
They are hilarious. And them together. Oh my God. They need a show. I think we need to start the Margot and Richard petition. They need a show. They're freaking funny. Yeah.
I agree. The couple did go to the police after receiving the first letter, and they were fairly inept at helping them. But when they received a second letter, and then it was 2 years before they got any more letters.
Oh, wow. So they were there for a while.
The police really did analyze the DNA on the envelope. Yeah. So they didn't find anybody, but at least they did that much.
I didn't realize it was 2 years that they were actually in the house. Because
no, that's exactly what I was going to say. They never moved into the house. That is my next point. So while the Braddocks in the show moved in and got the letters, they were doing renovations, living with her parents while they were doing renovations because they had these little kids. And the renovations were more extensive, really, than they were in the show. They never moved into the house.
Oh, my goodness.
Never at all. So 6 months after the first letter arrived, they decided they were going to sell the house. They completed the renovations. They decided they were going to go ahead and sell the house. They listed it in February of 2015 for $1.5 million, which is a little more than what they paid for it to cover the costs of the renovations. And because there were rumors about this watcher letter that it got out in this little town, they were not able to sell the house. So they rented it. And then the family actually used an LLC to buy another home in the neighborhood or in the area so that they could, not in that particular neighborhood, but in the area because they didn't want to pull the kids out of school and all of that. So they bought a separate house.
Oh, and see, that's an interesting plot point in the miniseries with the whole using the LLC to buy a house so that you're shielded from,
Right. Well, and they bought the house from an LLC and ended up selling it later to an LLC and
all the things. Yeah.
So as the family walks through the home at the open house, there's a neighbor, Jasper, with intellectual disabilities, and he disarmingly and randomly shares a fact, a true one. Babies have about 100 more bones than adults do. Adults end up with 206 bones. Babies have about 300, according to Healthline. And it's because we have more cartilage as infants, as we, to help accommodate us growing in the womb, to give us a little more flexibility and to be able to exit the womb. Yes. And then they fuse together, which is why babies have, a soft spot in their head. And
that's true. You can count that as like 4 different little bones instead of like one
Exactly.
skull.
And then you have some arms and legs and hands and all different things. And then those things solidify as much as bones actually solidify.
And then, how about that?
Yeah. So creepy, but interesting.
Creepy timing. Yeah, for sure.
So Dean's friend Steve is helping him to secure the financing for the house.
Yeah.
And Dean is talking about how safe Westfield is. And Steve warns him that's branding, which I was like, oh, that's so good.
It was good.
And at least in 2022, Westfield is not only not the safest town, even in New Jersey, it's not even in the top 50 for the state anymore.
Wow, things change.
And I don't know that it's so much change or if it was just, maybe it is change because the list that I have has New Hanover as the safest town, and it has a violent crime rate of 7.5% and a property crime rate of 7.1%. So that means out of every 1,000 people, about 7 would end up having their home burglarized, which is fairly low. I mean,
it is actually pretty low.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I do think that communities can change,
both ways.
Both ways. That's the point though. It can kind of go both ways in trends. And sometimes I think if you look at demographics, you might see rowdy teenagers and certain kind of, I mean, they're causing trouble for sure, like property crime and things like that. But like also it kind of maybe ebbs and flows with like,
you have a particular rowdy group of high schoolers and, in 4 or 5 years, then things get better because it's not cool anymore to egg a house or whatever.
Yeah, which you never know what they're really counting in there. I mean, you can't never know. You can look it up. But in general, I mean, a lot of things today get counted as a crime. Like they'll be booked and it'll be counted. Whereas before, an officer might have just drug your butt home.
Yeah, and let your parents deal with you.
Yeah, which
Right.
has changed.
Right.
It's changed. Kid get into the fight at school. Mm-hmm. We used to have 2 coaches who like materialize out of nowhere,
Pulled
bear
you apart.
hugging and and then forcing hugs or handshakes or truly separating if it was like that bad. Mm-hmm. And these days they're looking for somebody to charge a crime with.
Right. All right. So Nora is in their house looking at her phone at a website called First Dibs because she's looking to outfit their home with some lovely furniture, which they can't really afford. But, oh, by the way, First Dibs is very real.
Yeah, I thought that was true.
Extraordinarily dangerous because it's very, very expensive, but everything there is lovely. I mean, you would, if you ever need like to waste 15, 20 minutes to go look at some lovely mid-century modern. They have Eames chairs. I lost some time looking at some Eames chairs yesterday because they have these recliners that are fabulous. And the cheapest one was $4,000.
It's not bad, actually.
No, it's not.
Because the ones I found in town, they were not original. They were reproductions, but by Eames.
Okay.
So limited reproduction by Eames, numbered and signed.
Oh, wow.
$3,500 each.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so not bad
Yeah.
for $4,000 for an original.
Yeah. I mean,
It's worth it.
I mean, they're so beautiful.
Yeah, and they're so comfortable.
Uh-huh.
That's the thing. They're uber functional.
Right.
They're super comfy.
Yeah.
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 I want one. I do.
Well, the chair she was looking at, she called it a genre.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know what that is.
But yeah, Pierre Jeanneret really did make some really fabulous mid-century modern furniture.
I need
that
to
is-
learn about this because I love mid-century.
You do, because it's beautiful.
Okay.
I mean, be prepared. The $7,000 chair she was looking at was a steal.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But he was an architect and furniture designer. And he had a collaboration with a cousin, Le Corbusier.
Oh, wait. What are they famous for?
Chairs.
I mean, what chairs? Describe what chairs? Maybe I've seen it. I mean, I'm sure I've seen
the
it.
Grand Model seating collection. I'm sure you have. But they also designed a famous villa in France because he was an architect and his...
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it's them.
It's them.
It's them.
The genre. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
I know exactly what it is.
Gorgeous.
I need to go study. Yeah. That's what I'll tell my husband I'm doing. I'm
You're studying.
I'm not shopping and creating a list.
No. Yeah. That we need to win the lottery to be able to afford.
Right.
To be fair, the Braddocks should have won the lottery before they did any of this. But
I mean, right?
I guess if you want to live irresponsibly, you could do this right now. But
hashtag housing bubble.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Am I right? Because that was stupid loans. It was a bad loan. They wouldn't give you that loan now.
No.
Not a chance.
We'll talk about more about that later.
Ooh, you have things.
So Dean fusses at daughter aged 16, Ellie, for wearing lipstick.
Yeah.
And this was super unbelievable to me because Tiny Beans talks about how most kids who are interested in wearing makeup, regardless of gender, start between 12 and 15.
Yeah.
And that it's actually really detrimental to shame your child. It's one thing to caution them and let them know how other people are going to perceive them, but it's very, very poor parenting to shame them, as Dean did.
Yeah.
What are the neighbors going to think that you are actually doing the sexualizing of a child?
You're causing the very problem you're trying to avoid. Yes. And what's stupid is that had he kept his mouth shut, he could have told her to put the lipstick away because it wasn't hers.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah, exactly.
Ew, don't do that.
And then he could have had a conversation with his wife. She wants lipstick. Will you go help her choose a light, appropriate color?
Yeah. And no.
Yeah, and brand new. Because, ew. Or in somebody else's nasty.
Like left in a house?
Ugh.
Ew. It was ghost lipstick. Yuck.
Ghost lipstick. It was ghost lipstick.
It was. It was
So
nasty.
funny. And then neighbor Mitch, Richard Kind, who we've mentioned, rants about how arugula didn't used to be called arugula. He was mad because evidently you're racist if you call it rocket. Well, I couldn't find anything that suggested that calling it rocket was racist, but I'd never heard it called rocket before.
Was that true?
Yes. Cook's Info says very much in Britain and Europe, they call it rocket.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. In English, they call it rocket. There's some interesting article at this Cook's Info that talks about how really rocket and arugula are both bastardizations of the name of the vegetable in other languages.
Oh, okay.
You don't say.
Yeah, really? Yeah. Okay, how about that?
Rounding out the being yelled at on their own property by neighbors, Pearl, Mia Farrow, rants that they shouldn't cut down any trees because they talk to one another through their roots. This is true, and you're never going to believe what the botanists call this. Would you like to guess? You got that look like you're trying to work it out. You're never going to guess how dorky botanists are.
All I can think is The Martian right now. Oh. I have no idea.
The Wood Wide Web.
Okay.
Botanists are big dorks.
They are dorky.
It's the Wood Wide Web.
What? I mean, really?
Yes. This is what the botanists call it.
The Wood Wide Web.
Yep.
Oh, bless them. That's funny.
Yes, and it's actually very interesting. There's an ecologist, Susan Simmer, discovered that trees communicate their needs to one another through a lattice work of laced fungi in the soil. It's actually not their roots, but they talk through these little fungi, and they can talk to each other, send nutrients and water to one another, and they do have a fairly sophisticated... It's actually,
I feel like it's science fiction. When you start learning about this, it's science fiction, especially with fungi. By the way, fungi, we know nothing. Right. Fungi rules the world.
Yeah,
they do.
We don't even know how much of an effect fungi have on our life daily.
So super intelligent that it's like bananas.
Yeah.
The way that they're able to operate as like individual molecules and then link up. And then separate. It's like, oh my gosh, like it's bananas. But then like you add like the lattice work, right? The connection, the communication between the trees and all of that. It is really weird. You start getting into it, and like when I was reading about it, it was like I had to stop because I thought I'm having an existential crisis.
Yeah, about like putting them in butter and eating them in eggs.
Yeah, about all of it, the trees and everything. But I did not come across the Wood Wide Web term. And I really wish I had.
I was like, no way.
That's hilarious.
That is really funny.
Oh, botanists, we love you.
Yep. After the first letter arrives, Nora and Dean go to the police, just as they did in real life. And the detective agrees to try and get DNA from the envelope.
Yeah.
Is possible.
If he licked it.
If they licked it, yes. So the DNA lab had an article from 2019 and said, yes, if they licked it, that you probably can get DNA from it. Depends on how the envelope was opened, and that they're expecting that level of DNA analysis to be relatively soon available to the public.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Not only did they use it here in this case for a police thing, but in February of 2011, they were looking to find the DNA of Amelia Earhart in the same way on licked envelopes.
Oh my God.
So that they could try and confirm, because there had been some bones found and they thought they were Amelia Earhart's, and they wanted to get her DNA so that they could match up to these set of bones and others. Well, it took them a while to actually get the DNA off of it. It was in 2019 when this other article was written that they actually were able to get DNA that they were reasonably sure was hers.
Wow.
Because it was envelopes to family.
Okay.
Letters to family.
Yeah.
And there was, when her family would have been opening this, it was the fashion to open on the side with a letter opener.
Yes.
So they had the seal intact, which made it much more likely to be able to get the DNA.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And in 2021, after they'd abstracted the DNA, they actually were able to confirm that those bones were not Amelia Earhart's.
Oh.
But now they have the DNA to be able to, if they find future evidence of her possible remains somewhere, they can compare it.
Well, who the hell did they find?
I don't know. Well, it might not have even been human.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's sad.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's a mystery that's never solved.
I mean,
never solved.
No, it'd be amazing.
For all we know, she shut off that communication, landed herself somewhere awesome, and changed her name.
Uh-huh.
We have a Titanic situation going on with her.
That's right. Yeah, she's like Rose.
Yep.
So the Brandons seem to think that $7,000 was a steal for this home security system. I was like, wait, what?
No, yeah, I kind of just, suspended judgment for a minute because I know that there are some really fancy ones that do cost a lot. But then when they started installing, I was like, oh, that ain't it though.
Right.
That's like I ordered that on Amazon and I can install that myself.
Yes. Now, I get that there's some labor involved with all the windows, but it's not that much labor. There were a lot of windows and there were 10 cameras with a whole CCTV system. Even still.
Which, by the way, you have a phone. Stop with like the whole like TV like room thing.
Okay, so I can kind of see having the TV room and not having it connected to the internet if they're that worried about security.
I guess so.
Though we find out later it probably was connected to the internet, but whatever. Anyway,
they didn't have a landline, so how are they going to notify police except through the cell signal? Okay,
I don't know. But even the costliest cameras are about $500.
Yeah, and
each. So even if they had 10 cameras at $500 each, and had a couple $1,000s for the additional stuff, they would have been at the very top of the price range. That would not have been a steal.
No,
by any stretch of the
not a
imagination.
steal.
And they're real cagey about when this is taking place. You can't really tell.
That's kind of true too, because they have iPhones,
right?
But you're right; it does kind of suggest an older time period. So I wonder what did they cost in for fancy ones?
Yeah, 2014. Still, it wouldn't have been.
Almost looked like a 1990 something system,
right? Yeah, but this would have been.
Yeah, because he's all doing the wires and like screwing it onto the and I'm like, they make them with command strips now, and
you just stick it on.
But see, again, that's all wireless. That's all not because I guess if you're really concerned about like something that's far more sophisticated,
even then, $7,000 is a lot of money, even for the type of situation they had there.
Yeah. If you're that scared, build a panic room.
Yeah, exactly.
With a tunnel. Okay, I stop. Okay.
All of the sources that we use to inform our discussion here on Killer Fun Podcast can be found on our social media. Join us on Facebook at Killer Fun Podcast, exploring the intersection of crime and entertainment. You can find us on Twitter at Killer Fun Pod, or you can send us an email at killerfunpodcast@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to share a link to whatever information you're looking for. We love to hear from you. You might learn a little something too. All right, so psychology break.
Ooh. What you got?
So real estate agent Karen and wife Nora kind of rekindle their friendship over tennis and lunch at the club. Mm-hmm. And Karen suggests that Nora and Dean deserve nice things because they're rich. Now, I happen to know that she's fishing for things.
Oh, yeah.
That's the whole reason why she's talking about it. But I was interested about this, like, rich people deserve it. So there was a study. Marketplace had an article about this in January of 2021. Why rich people think they tend to deserve their money.
Okay, hit me.
So there was an experiment by psychologists at the University of California in Irvine where they invited participants to come in and play Monopoly.
Okay.
And they rigged it. And the people playing it knew they rigged it. Okay. So what they did is they said, one of you is going to be poor and the other of you is going to be rich. And you're going to flip a coin and decide which one of you is poor and which one of you is rich. Okay. And the rich person got to take twice as many turns, and they started out with twice as much money.
Okay.
And every time they passed go, they got twice as much money.
Okay.
You know, they had all these advantages. So at the end of the game, researchers would talk to the rich player and ask them why they won the game. And do you know what none of them said? The coin flip at the beginning.
Really?
Yes. They all talked about the things that they did in the game, how they were wise with their money. Almost uniformly, they failed to see that they started out with a better hand.
It's interesting. Mm-hmm. I mean, okay, so I'm thinking of... I'm sure. All right. Okay. I guess I'm not defending. I'm not defending their answers. What I'm wondering is, I have a question about it because I'm wondering, in the same way that sometimes you go into a situation knowing you have an advantage, but your mindset is it's mine to lose.
Sure.
So when you don't lose it, you can credit yourself for not having been dumb enough to lose your advantage.
Okay.
And so, I mean, it's college football season, and it's football season. And there's a lot of times where, like, and I'm a Patriots fan. Don't come at me now. All right. I'm a Patriots fan. And there's been plenty of times where it was ours to lose. See, I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there to Super Bowl, undefeated season. They walked onto the field. They had every advantage in the world because they were undefeated. They had a fantastic team, awesome coach. They were ready to go. It was theirs to lose, and they did.
Yeah.
But had they won, they would have basically credited themselves for all the wise decisions they made that kept them from losing their advantage.
Sure.
So I wonder how much of the mindset is that it's so taken for granted that they started off with it.
Right.
That they immediately are focused on don't lose it, don't lose it, don't lose it.
Right. That's possible.
I just wonder.
Sure.
I wonder that.
Sure. So Paul Piff is one of the researchers who did this. And he said, so across all of these different indexes, we found that rich players, despite winning the game through very little effort because of the coin flip that went their way, they still acted as if they deserved to win and the poor player deserved to lose. There's obviously a lot of situations in which wealthy people and people who are privileged have obviously done things to contribute to help generate the resources and privilege that they have. But I think across all people, it's universally true that there are things that you benefit from that you did not contribute to. There are things that you benefit from that you did not build. There are things that you benefit from that you did not make. Yeah. Roads, schools.
Right.
Infrastructure things.
Yeah. So the point there, I think, is that, and the more that I think about it, it's like, they may have, but they probably overcredited their actions as being responsible for not losing the advantage.
Yes.
Instead of crediting the advantage itself for being perpetual.
Right. So, I mean, you could say there are things that happen within the Patriots organization that they don't even realize are benefiting them.
They took it for granted.
Right.
And in their case, they really did lose it.
Right.
It was awful. And by the way, that's why we became a dynasty, because we were like, never again. But like, sometimes you overcredit your own actions.
Right.
Instead of other things. I think the football thing, I don't know that they really came in with any advantages, that were inherent, like in this situation, like in the study, I mean.
Right.
I'm just talking about like the mindset of I'm ahead, don't lose it.
Right. Sure. And certainly that's part of it. But you have to also acknowledge that there are things that happen without your control that give you a benefit.
That are perpetual. Mm-hmm. You didn't just start ahead in the race. You didn't just get born in a richer family.
Right.
You had a cascading, perpetual amount of privilege.
Exactly.
You weren't just handed a bulk amount of money and said, go do it. You had other factors everywhere.
Right. Sure.
Yeah. That's interesting. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. That's interesting.
And then feeling unsafe, as the family did with their unwelcoming neighbors and frightening letters, can really have an impact on your mental health. One Scream has an article about this. Research shows that fear of falling victim to crime is much more prominent in women than men, which we kind of saw with Nora, and that women feel at greater risk of this happening because, it's a greater risk to women. And a study found that men fear dying above all else, followed by being mugged, burglary, or physical attack, and then sexual assault last.
Right.
So if they're given those lists, they always list sexual assault last. And in comparison, women fear sexual assault the most, followed by physical attack, dying, burglary, and then being mugged. So we literally are more afraid of being sexually assaulted than murdered.
Yeah.
So, and this really has an impact, particularly on women, because we spend a lot of time consciously or unconsciously trying to make sure that we are safe wherever we go.
Yeah.
As safe as we can be. Or if you're there, particularly if you're there with children.
Yeah.
You tend to...
Or if you're out by yourself, it
you're-
harkens back to the shame of wearing that lipstick. Oh my God, am I inviting something? Am I inviting? Is it my fault?
Right.
Bull.
Yeah. And they list Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which I know is it's kind of iffy, but like your needs, the bottom layer tends to be, food, air,
right,
shelter,
your
very basics. And the next level up, the next most important thing is feeling safe. That if you don't feel safe a lot of the time, your brain will react in similar ways, whether you're actually unsafe or if you just feel unsafe.
Yeah.
You go into that fight or flight mode.
Fight, flight, freeze.
Yes. Yep. And that if you actually don't have to flee or fight, that the cortisol and adrenaline will build up. And that can cause greater anxiety and depression. And so if you don't have any sort of release where you can feel safe again, then it can be a perpetuating cycle. So it really wasn't a great situation for this family.
No.
I feel very...
It was be terrible.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Very, very sympathetic.
Yeah, I'd go to the Schitt's Hotel too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because didn't it not look like exactly the Schitt's Creek Hotel? Am I
really
right?
did.
Am I right? As soon as they got there, I was like,
It's
about to be a crossover.
It didn't get nearly as funny.
No.
All right, real life. So the family moved because they wanted a safer place for their kids. But really, your kids aren't safer in the suburbs than they are in the city. Because even when you take into account like all these things like, homicide and, all these things that are really relatively rare, the most dangerous thing you can do for your children is to buy a car.
Right. Yeah.
And drive them around. That public transit tends to be far and away much, much safer, even when you account for the occasional crash, which happens far less in public transit.
Right.
And, being harassed or whatever on the actual transit itself.
Yeah.
Even when you take all of that into account and
It's
add it
still
all in,
safer.
I mean, motor vehicle crashes are the leading cause of death for children from every age from 2 to 14 years old, according to the Center for Disease Control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Secretary Pete is out to change it.
That's right.
Y'all, I know the Department of Transportation does not sound cool and fun.
That's right.
But I'm going to tell you what, Secretary Pete is on it.
Yes.
He cares about this.
He does. He cares about this. And,
yes.
And the more you commute, the more you contribute to climate change and, issues that affect children.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Nora says the air smells different in the suburbs.
Okay, that I'm going to go with because we live not in the city center, but like what would be considered uptown, although it's a large, sprawling kind of city. So we're not like a stone's throw or a couple subway stops down. Nevertheless, it's like 10 minutes driving down a surface street before we're like kind of in the downtown area. But just even being in a metropolitan area like that, I mean, and then I go to the East Coast in truly the suburbs.
Right.
And it's like honeysuckle and jasmine. It's amazing.
Yes.
But elevation has something to do with that as well. I know. But the pollutants.
And that's what they talk about, is that it's not just outside either, that you have, you expect to have more of that when you're outside in a heavily populated area. You're going to have more pollution because the cars are closer together and they've probably stopped more. And, you know, there's all of those sorts of things that does make the air smell different. But your indoor air tends to be less quality, less have
Less pure?
poorer quality
Yeah.
indoors because you tend to find more cigarette smoke in urban homes.
Yeah.
The gas stoves are much more popular in cities where it's much less often to have that in a urban area. Almost all of them are electric.
Well, and let's please for a lot of the cities, New England especially though. Oil.
Yeah.
You gotta have your oil dump, and your house stinks.
Yeah.
When they dump that oil, and it's so smelly.
Aw.
I don't care where they put it.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
smells bad.
Right. And then you tend to have more mold contamination, particularly if you apartments and things like that.
Older structures.
Older structures. You tend to have more vermin issues. All of those things not only affect the quality of the air in your home, you're less likely to have them in a rural area.
Yeah.
So your house really will smell different.
Yeah, it will smell better.
So the family struggled with getting financing, and Lending Tree has an article about how, yes, it could be a decade of trouble, up to even a decade or more after a bankruptcy to be able to qualify for a loan. So Chapter 7 is probably what they filed for, which is what most individuals file for. And that's liquidation or straight bankruptcy, which is basically probably what happened. Now, there are a lot of circumstances that would allow you to qualify for a loan in 2 to 5 years.
Okay.
But it can stay on your credit report for up to 10 years, depending on what steps you took to get it removed.
Gotcha.
And then another comment that Karen made at the country club lunch was, she said, she decided marrying rich was easier than being an artist.
Yeah, she did. That was funny.
It was funny.
It was a little meta.
It was.
Just because of all the roles she's played.
Right.
I mean, it was such a Stifler's mom moment.
Right. Yes.
She's so funny. I love her. Jennifer Coolidge.
Economists say it's really not a bad idea to marry for money.
Oh, okay.
We as humans have the capacity to fall in love with lots of people, and there's no shame in targeting your swooning on someone who can provide you with a higher standard of living. Put it this way, if two people are the same in most respects, except one earns twice as much as the other, don't flip a coin, go for the higher earner, marry for money.
I'm floored and yet not shocked.
Well, you know
How
what?
is that possible?
My dad told me the same thing.
Oh.
He was like, you can fall in love with a rich man just as well as a poor man. I think that was part of the reason why they really wanted me to go to college.
To get your MRS degree?
And I did, to be fair.
Well, me too.
But, you know, I mean, and that I think the key is all things being equal.
Yeah, that's the key. That's
you
the
like
key.
the people about the same. They're kind.
See?
They're not cruel. They're And one makes twice as much as the other. Now, sometimes the heart's going to want what the heart wants. And
well, I'm having like a Sweet Home Alabama moment. All right. So like she has the city guy who is like super rich, you know, and then her down home Alabama husband. But when she reconnects with him, he has this fancy glass and he ain't poor anymore. So
yeah, you know, it's not to say circumstances can't change.
yeah. But like I'm saying, like all things being equal, you know, now she gets to choose her husband.
Yeah.
Instead of the rich man up in New York City.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. Did you see the meme about like, prepare gentlemen, it is now the season for all rich men to be dumped for poor men in lumberjack plaid.
I haven't seen that, but
It's pretty funny.
or you could just buy your rich, handsome man a lumberjack shirt.
Yeah. Just do it.
So just before the family finds an unwelcome neighbor, Jasper, in their home playing around with their dumbwaiter. A paper boy rides by on a bike and delivers the newspaper.
Yeah.
And like of all the ridiculous scenarios that are in this show, that is maybe the most ridiculous.
Yeah, it was the most like anachronism.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah.
Even with the dumbwaiter, because houses that are old might have that.
Right. Which the actual house did not.
Yeah,
but,
okay, well.
But anyway, there, you know, it was a part of the thing. And supposedly Jasper picked up their paper and took it inside. And then was walking around their house. And it was creepy and whatever. But Smithsonian Magazine had an article from July of 2022. So just this past summer that, you know, there's been a lot of decline in newspapers and daily papers, and that America's largest newspaper chain just reduced the number of days that they even make print editions of the paper. It's really becoming a thing of the past. Not only are newspapers becoming a thing of the past, but the newspapers delivered by kids on bikes.
Oh my gosh.
Is like distant.
Yeah,
like it hasn't happened since the 70s.
Yeah.
Like one of the things they require from newspaper delivery people now is a driver's license.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It was just really interesting. And nobody can quite tell you when it stopped being a thing. But most people, or if they ask, it's that they think it was sometime in the 70s or early 80s that really even stopped being a thing.
I mean, especially like, because development's got so much more populated. How many more paper kids do you need to like higher in order to fulfill the intense amount of people in the suburbs?
Well, because when I was a kid, we had two newspapers available, and both had a morning and an evening edition.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow. No.
This
That's
was
crazy.
like 1982.
Yeah.
You know, I can remember my parents deciding, oh no, I think we want the evening edition.
Right.
Because they didn't start printing that puppy until like 2 p.m.
Yeah. So stuff might have happened.
Yes, stuff might have happened.
Yeah.
And so you were, you know, they wrote it that morning, and you can actually get the most up-to-date news.
I mean, I get the paper every Sunday.
Right.
But I get the New York Times every Sunday. And I don't have time to read it on time every week. That's why I like the Sunday edition, because I'm not really going for the breaking news. I'm going for the more in-depth kind of, and more investigative, so I don't have to read it on Sunday. But I will peruse it through the week.
Right.
And then like look at different kind of things. And when the kids were younger, they really liked the little kids sections that came. And they weren't even little when we started getting them, but they were still interesting enough. So I get that. And, I don't feel bad if I don't kind of go through the whole paper. It is hard because I also have the app.
Right.
So anything breaking or pressing, I probably have already gotten a push notification for it.
Right.
But there's so much in there, you know, and there's nothing like it. But I'm going to tell you, here's the wave of the future. You've got to go to the magazine format.
Well, this is the kind of paper my parents get now, is they get a weekly magazine format that has nationwide news. And then they have like a little tip-in curated for the area
Yeah,
or
and
the
like
region.
it could even be larger, you know, like Cheesecake Factory menu size.
Oh, there you go.
You could even do that and fold it in half. But I'm telling you, it's like folding a map while driving down a 2-lane highway. I can't get it done, and it's so much bigger than me, and I'm so like I have to do the whole thing, and I'm not ever as smooth as like those people in the throwback shows where they pop it.
Well, they have a lot of experience with it.
They pop it and it's pre-folded. They pop it to the fold they want. Well, it's already folded. So if you need to fold it a different way to read it, it's not going to pop that way. You have to like pre-do that and then pop it over. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So go to the magazine format. You can print it on newspaper and you can make it big. But oh my gosh, put a staple in the middle of that.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah. All right, next time. We're going to do Harry Styles star Don't Worry, Darling.
I cannot wait.
Available on HBO. It looks like, I can't decide how good it really looks. I mean, it looks good. It looks interesting. But I do know that the cars and homes are going to be fabulous.
I mean, at least.
And the outfits. They have this whole throwback 50s, very idyllic sort of version of the 50s.
Yeah.
And I know there's something sketchy and crimey happening, but you don't know what it is till you watch it.
Wait.
So,
I know. I'm so excited.
So next time, Don't Worry, Darling. And until then, be safe, be kind, and wash your hands.
Bum, bum, bum. Da, 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 da.